I'm excited to see how open this looks. One thing that most flippers are not going to do, it would be this driveway. So when we did buy this house also, all the paneling that's behind us over here was all along these walls. Their crew started pulling this stuff down. That doorway is most likely going to be turning into patio door. So we walked back inside. This is a completely faux fireplace. It doesn't even actually produce anything. It was completely for aesthetic purposes. We are on Orchard Grove here in Lakewood, just west of downtown. Right down here, there's some massive development going on. They're building over 100 apartments right on Detroit. The first apartments are supposed to be available by the end of the year. I don't know if that's likely to happen, but I would say by the end of Q1, it will happen. There's going to be a new bank and a few other businesses, storefronts, that are going to be part of that development project that are good. If you get right up to the top of the street, going up towards Madison, you get to Wagar Park. There's a park at the top of the street. We're talking less than just over probably a quarter mile to that park into Madison from here. So it's a really good stretch, has a lot of potential for that area, both for the flipping community, long-term rentals, or if you just want to end up keeping it for yourself for a short-term rental, that would all be potential for here in Lakewood. People are noticing changes that are happening in the city. Definitely the biggest change has been the price of homes since 2019. We've seen a 60% increase in that valuations. Just since 2019, I bought my original house in 2009. We bought it for less than $120,000. We sold it just a year ago for just about a year and a half ago for over just short of $400,000. And as far as our investment in the property, it was mostly aesthetic with a few minor other updates to the bathrooms and stuff like that, but nothing capital improvement wise, I would say, in the 14, 15 years we owned that house. But you can see what the price valuations did end up happening and change. Jesse was able to acquire this for under $200,000 or just about $200,000, and he's going to end up probably putting in somewhere around $100,000 into the project. That's my rough estimate when we ran numbers. We'll see where that ends up going. The garage change and some other things would depend on how much work he puts onto the back deck and stuff of that nature could blow up that budget a little bit, but that's going to be more aesthetic and make the house more attainable for the next owner, whether that's Jesse for long term or that's somebody that he decides to sell it to. And there's very few contractors that I would recommend to my clients, whether they're owner occupant, they're an investor, they're looking for that person, especially if you are looking in Lakewood. Practical Renovations is a great opportunity and a great company to work with. Jesse really knows these 100-year-old houses. He wants to keep the character and keep as much as he can end up doing while updating them for today's standards and today's code. Things that are going to happen for Jesse is like, I know this, if I end up having him flip this house and renovate it, and even if he sells it off quickly, it's going to be put in a position where the person that owns this house is going to be able to do this or be in this house for 20 plus years without having to do major updates. Just touching base and growing on, like one thing that most flippers are not going to do, it would be this driveway. You see an old asphalt driveway that's been covered over. It has pitting that's happening on this. Jesse has it in the budget right now to tear this out and put in a new concrete pad in here when they do the garage as well. So that's all going to get done. That's a major upgrade that you wouldn't see at most flips. So as you can end up seeing, it's got flaking, deteriorated paint that's going on in the house. It's got some old floorboards that are doing that. Probably even the posts have seen better days that are supporting the upper pitch. So Jesse more than likely is not going to do anything with rebuilding the roof line itself, but he will more than likely rebuild definitely the floorboards. He'll put down new tongue and groove. The fascia board will all get replaced, and more than likely these posts will all get replaced. So one of Jesse's side hustles, in addition to his traditional practical renovations, is Lakewood porches and making sure that they are what the character is of Lakewood. 95% of the city ends up having front porches, and because of, you could see we only have 20 feet here from the front of the house to the sidewalk. That engagement that you have with the community, the walkability that you have people that are going to be up here having coffee in the mornings, having a drink possibly with neighbors in the evening. You're going to be able to have the conversations with those people, and it ends up getting you a lot more ingrained with your neighbors, since we are the most densely populated community between New York and Chicago. So before demo happened, everything was covered in carpet. first off. So they did get rid of a lot of that. Jesse has his own trailer that is a dump trailer. So he pulled out a lot of that between himself and one of his staff people. This was all carpet, but you do have the roughly 1-inch floorboards, which are beautiful. You don't see a ton of those anymore. Usually they're the 2 1/4 width. So those are all here. Jesse's going to refinish these floors, reincorporate them on. Obviously wallpaper will go. They'll end up more than likely flatten out any of the stippled ceilings. So that stuff will end up being a little bit more aesthetically pleasing for the next buyer. We'll fix up trim, stuff of that nature that has gotten damaged over the years. One big thing that happened that we didn't even figure out until we did a secondary walkthrough is the fireplace right here. This room, by the way, was wallpapered, but we ended up having a formal framing around this fireplace. We were looking at it, went on that side of the wall, went over here. I went outside. There's no chimney that goes for this fireplace. So we walked back inside. This is a completely faux fireplace. It doesn't even actually produce anything. It was completely for aesthetic purposes. So Jesse's going to be taking this out and going straight through to make this a little bit more of an open floor plan. Once you end up looking down from the front bay windows, you'll be able to see all the way through. Again, as I said, from outside, that doorway is most likely going to be turning into a patio door, and that's going to go out onto the new deck. So this is going to get opened up all the way through. So you'll have a big open between the dining room area and the front living room. So that will be a massive change that hasn't happened in the 100 years that this house has been open. So when we did buy this house, also all the paneling that's behind us over here was all along these walls. Their crew started pulling this stuff down. They'll fix up these walls, but they're going to have to do electrical and a lot of other HVAC work that's going to happen between now and then. But this wall get cleaned up through here. We'll end up having that, but I'm excited to see how open this looks. I think it's going to feel twice as big as this house is, because this is about 1,450 on square footage right now for the entire house. The kitchen here, they've already taken out the appliances. They took out the old vanity, the old sink and cabinets that were in here. This is all going to get taken out all the way to the ceiling. Across the board. This pantry probably is going to end up going. There's a fire, I believe the utility chimney is right in here, but we're going to open this up and make this much more appeasing to the next owners and to today's standards. So they're looking at opening this up into the dining room, so that can end up being a little bit more open feel for folks. We've also had some conversations about having a little bit more. And again, this is in conversation piece, so this is budget friendly, but talking about the potential of being able to look through all the way to the front door from the dining room. So putting some supports in here, but being able to look all the way through to get to that front door to end up making it feel a lot more open and airy. Taking down everything is much more popular. It's like full slate demo, but you still need pantry space, you still need closets, and you're looking for things that you can end up doing, because you don't want to end up having friends come over and you guys don't have anywhere to throw their jackets come wintertime or anything like that. So there'll be closets that will be left here just for that purpose. But we also want to make people feel like they're inclusive to no matter where they're at in the house. They're in here cooking and making a mess. If you have people hanging out watching a football game in there, they may not end up having that experience where they're getting interrupted by the game or something of that nature, and vice versa. But it does give you that opportunity. Behind us, there's a small porch now. I don't know if you can even get out there, but we'll try. It's only about a 3 foot deep by about 8 foot just storeroom. There's nothing else out there. As we talked about before, Jesse's going to be tearing that off, going to be putting a new addition on it, and that addition is going to house a small mudroom and a half bath. Obviously, flooring gets ripped out. We'll end up putting up new flooring as we get through. That's not exactly today's style. As you can start seeing, we got multiple layers of paint, wallpaper that's been on here. So that stuff's getting all pulled out. They had carpet over this. They found tile underneath it. You have a different flooring style. This hardwood's up here. So we'll come up here. They'll more than likely keep these floors unless they just decide to carpet them. We'll see how the progress goes. That's one of the hard things when you have different floors built at different times. Potentially they end up renovating these at some point. This is more likely to what you would see probably in an attic than you would see in a bedroom. A lot of times the floor that's downstairs is going to mimic what's up here on the second floor. We'll roll through these. At the very least, they will sand these down and see if they can end up getting them to come closer to a match of what's downstairs. They're probably salvageable. There'll be repairs that will have to happen. This is an odd width for floorboards though, so we'll have to see what can end up being done in order to match these. If it's not able to be, then more than likely they just get covered, probably get covered. It's not gonna be in the budget to tear out all the hardwoods and put new stuff back, but I would guess if you can't salvage it, then you're probably gonna be putting carpet over these, would be the most cost effective. Secondarily, some people like putting the luxury vinyl planks down. I personally don't like it. I feel like it's a cheap way to flip a house. I would rather put a carpet down and then go from there. Secondly though, Jesse's gonna be doing a lot more electrical updates and a lot more plumbing updates that are gonna be happening in these houses than a lot of flippers will end up doing. All the windows are gonna get replaced in the house. You're gonna end up having, the roof is actually not in terrible shape, but we're probably going to be looking at having that updated as well. Obviously the landscaping that we talked about previously, those are gonna be a lot of the starting spots. This will come back to probably will stay a closet. That will stay a closet more than likely. We'll see. A lot of times we're looking at trying to factor in today's market where they're going to end up having, hey, this buyer wants to have a king size bed in their bedroom. How do we end up setting it up so that we could end up having a king size bed, so that if we have somebody that's 6'5" that has to have that bed, we're not excluding them from being able to purchase this house. Again, I don't know what lights are working or not in here. Don't look at the toilet. Obviously, right now you have just an insert shower stall. This will get ripped out. We'll put Jesse will put in something formal that's been actually tiled. He'll end up making this bigger by taking over this space. So that will end up all getting done here. Bedroom 2, we're back here, ends up giving you some space to do with the closet. Probably still gonna be, I don't remember if this is the smaller or the next one is smaller, but same floor that we saw over in the other bedroom. So hopefully that is in the hallway as well, and we can keep all these cleaned up and we can end up getting them working. Again, electrical updated, windows updated, and then we'll get some trim up here updates as well. But that will end up having a door on it, probably kept as the closet exactly as is. I don't expect anything else done in that room. This bedroom, oh yeah, this one's a little bit bigger, but one thing that's missing in this room is an actual closet. So you have chimney sitting right here. So you're not gonna be able to end up putting a closet there. So you might end up having something put on one of these walls in order to make this room work a little bit better for the next buyer. But you also have a small overhang here. They have it screwed in up here. So we're not going to go out there, but there's a balcony out there. Like I said before, they're going to be ripping off that existing side porch. So this is more than likely going to go all together. Just going to end up having the one window in here, and then this will get walled off at that time.